Now, as the only non-parent on this nice panel of ours of two people, I feel like it wouldn't go unnoticed if I didn't ask the question first to Turi. And the question is, you have a child. And Liam is very mischievously notorious and cute at the same time. So it can be very difficult to tell him.
Very difficult.
It can be, and he knows how to cozy up to you as well.
Yes, he does.
He knows how to apologize very, very, very schemingly in a way that you
know, if somebody says, "I'm so sorry, mommy," and does this, you know, you can't do anything to them.
You're
because
down.
What's this?
You're on the ground.
Yeah.
No? So how, as Turi, do you deal with the very young, handsome, and cheeky Liam in terms of discipline?
If I'm being honest, I have not come up with a surefire way to actually enforce discipline, because, you know, it's different for different occasions. You know, not every small mistake or not every mistake warrants the same, you know, reaction. You know, for example, if he wakes up in the middle of the night and then he's in the kitchen drinking soda, you know, that's a thing that happens. You'll find when they start opening things, it is over for you. And then you wake up, you're like, why are you awake? And then they say, I was drinking water, I was thirsty. So now you know he's lying. You know there's no way there was water in the fridge. What exactly were you doing? So now you have to punish the drinking of soda in the middle of the night like a thief. And you have to also address the fact that they lied to you. So now you start, you know, lying is bad. Why did you lie? It's all about having those small, you start enforcing those small rules very early on, and then you keep repeating them until they actually understand that lying is a bad thing, stealing is a bad thing, coming home with Bryson's watch is not a good thing because that is stealing, you know. Coming home with somebody's ruler and somebody's rubber is a horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
That is stealing. Take it back to the teacher tomorrow morning, and if she punishes you, then that is okay.
So for you, it feels like having one-on-one conversations is the way to go.
Yes.
As a parent.
Yes.
But this is when you catch them in the act, or when you catch them on a foul. So what happens otherwise? Do you still feel the need to sit them down and have like an hour maybe, or a chunk of time that is dedicated to making sure that you're having a conversation with this child just on discipline, on how to act, and morality and virtues and vices and stuff like that? Or have you just learned to do it reactively?
I feel like when it comes to discipline, just do it as organically as possible. You know, that thing of, I will set aside 1 hour today to talk about the rules of this house. Because I grew up in such a household where, you know, it becomes kind of boring. You're always expecting it, you know. You roll your eyes because unajua, ini Masaya lecture. And then also, I'm very keen not to be the person who hits. Because I also grew up in an environment where
physical violence,
you would be hit for the smallest thing you did. So now I usually avoid. Gentle parenting is not easy. It really is not easy. You start gentle parenting, you tell them, okay, sit here for 5 minutes, you go to your bedroom and scream, and then you come back. Because it's really not for the weak, especially when they know that this person will never hit me. That is over for you. But also at the same time, you need to have provided an environment where even if they did something wrong, they'll come to you and talk to you about it and say, I did this, I'm so sorry, mommy, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
So positive reinforcements, whenever they do something good, you give them a positive reinforcement. And I see this a lot with my niece as well, because every time, like ever since she was small and she'd do something and you say, good job, Tahani, she would immediately just, her face would glow and she would be super excited about it. And so basically, oftentimes she would continue to do these good things, so I could continue to tell her, good job, Tahani. So do you feel like positive reinforcement or giving praise and positive affirmations whenever they do good things is also a way of like sorting that parenting thing out, especially discipline-wise?
It's very important, but also sometimes parents get carried away. And then you find yourself with an 18-year-old who's being called Kababa and being told, good job, Kababa, for finishing your breakfast. So even as you're doing positive reinforcement, you should also remember that not every small thing your child does requires praise. You know, if they take their plate to the kitchen, that is what they're expected to do. You know, you should set those boundaries, set the bar very high for what praise should be and what positive reinforcement should be.
And speaking specifically about giving realistic expectations, is there something you've personally done to not to set them up too high, and then when the world knocks them down, they're unable to maneuver and get themselves back on the right track?
That's actually the most scary thing, because how will my child function when I'm not there? How will my child function out there in the wild? And it's always a cause for anxiety, especially when they start a new school, or they go for like camp, or they go for swimming lessons and it's a new place. You're like, how will he function? How will he thrive? Will my child be the bully or the victim?
Especially the bullying.
And I would prefer if they were the bully rather than being the victim. And it's also another thing, very quickly, about selfishness. Like, teach your child how to be selfish. Don't be the person who's always saying, no, share, because you're also enforcing this. Why should I Nyima myself? You know, why should I be the person compromising all the time? You see children fighting for a toy. It belongs to your son, but another child wants it. And then you're very quick to say, share with that other child. So why should my child be sad so that your child can be happy? As in, there's literally no map or there's no formula for how to raise a child. Just make sure that they are the strongest person in the room, that they're able to defend themselves. If they hit you and they don't say sorry and you report to the teacher and nothing happens, I encourage my child to hit back. I won't even lie to you. Sometimes we train, like, show me how you punch. Because if your child is always the one crying, always the one saying, Aki, mommy, they hit me, they did this, they pushed me, they shoved me, how do you teach them how to stand up for themselves? So me, I am a very good encourager of, they hit you one time. You said, did you establish a boundary? Did you say, don't hit me, don't do that to me, I don't like that? And they continued the same thing. Hit them back. Because how will the other child learn? Maybe uko kwa mefunzwa chokoza the other children. So now we have this bully walking around bullying all these children, and none of them can stand up for themselves because they've been taught how to be kind, how to be the good person, how to always share even if it means they are sad. Yeah, it's the ghetto.
And it gets very, very tricky, especially when you're trying to explain bad behavior in a calm tone. For instance, I've noticed my niece is very manipulative. She knows how to speak to every single person
in a
different way.
Code switching.
Code switching very, very fast. For instance, we had her over on Saturday. In fact, it became a very interesting journey because they had sports day. I think I'd mentioned this before. They had sports day on Saturday at school. But the previous day she got sick. She had pneumonia, right? But she insisted that she wanted to go to sports day. Why she insisted apparently is because I had lied to her the week before and told her I would go visiting, but I didn't go. So she knew the only way she can actually get me to go is by forcing her mother, as she is sick, to take her to school for sports day because auntie is going to come to school. Once we got to school, she didn't even care about the sport. As we're taking her back home, she says, Auntie, I want to go to your place. So we drove all the way to Roy in order for us to come back all the way. And once we got here, she started asking for everything. I don't want pizza. I want pizza. But I don't really like this pizza. Can we get hamburgers? I don't really want the hamburgers. Can we get? And she knows how to collect my things. She's very smart. She will ask me questions like, Auntie, I don't have lip gloss. The lip gloss in the car, can I have it? Because she saw it, she wanted. So she's become very manipulative, but she only speaks in that way to me. To to her mom and the rest, she's a total bully. So it becomes very interesting because she knows I only respond to like sweetness. Now she's completely switched. She no longer speaks in Kiswahili with me. She only speaks in English. So it's very, very manipulative.
You said Kiswahili is very violent.
She just became very, very manipulative. But how do you correct this behavior when it's not necessarily coming off in this obvious way? Unless someone tells me that she's different with other people, for me, this is the kind, sweet girl that I know. I don't know, she acts funny with other people. So how do you deal with this consequences? How do you give or impact consequences to your children in a way that is impactful and is not necessarily scarring them?
I think children really respond to everything that is around them. They respond to how you act. If you've shown them that I will act this way, if you act this way, that is exactly what they'll do. Because I even remember, even I was very manipulative. I could read the room very quickly. I knew how to speak to my father, how to speak to my mother, how to speak to my auntie. So they'll mirror, children will mirror behavior. So if this is what they've been seeing, this is what they'll expect. This is what they'll do to force an outcome. But also at the same time, be very careful because it really is the ghetto. Because even sometimes, even with bedtime, you know, sometimes my son will sneak his iPad with him to bed, and then you know, I'm in the living room like, did I hear something? No, I didn't hear anything. And then they'll reduce the volume and undercover. So when I'm going to cover this child, as I'm going to sleep, I see light in this. I'm like,
wait, light?
You're still awake. You're still awake at this time. So I think just always don't get tired of talking about these things. Don't get tired of saying what is right and what is wrong. Don't get tired of enforcing boundaries. And there are consequences for doing certain things.
But how do you impact consequences without feeling like now you're punishing this child because they have a personality?
You'll never stop feeling guilty. You will never stop feeling guilty, because sometimes I punish my kid. I'm like, no screen time for 2 weeks, and then he's just sitting there sad. You know, you ask him to do something like, even if I had my iPad, I would run faster. You know, at the end of the day, this is the person you created. This person is just reacting to how he thinks he can manipulate the situation.
That is so wild. We still see your messages coming through. Jojo, what's up? How are you? She's the one who gave a comment saying, hi guys, you look lovely. Kathomi umekula nini?
Una glow.
Una glow. Aki, nitakwambia is the Lord's work.
Wow.
Praise Jehovah. Anyway, I see other messages coming through. What's Zach saying?
We have Zach tuned in saying, hey ladies, looking beautiful and younger each day. Aki Zach.
You know the way to our heart.
Aki Zach. We also have Ashley tuned in, and she's saying, I love Kathomi's afro. As in, look at her, like black girl magic. You know, it's giving. Like, yes, go girl, Team Natural hair all the way.
Yes, but we go back to the conversation because there is still a lot to talk about. Another one is distracting your child with a more positive activity when they are being difficult.
Yep.
Does this work?
Yes, it does. Because if I'm being honest, it's very easy for you to distract them with screen time. It's the easiest thing. They're being too loud, they're being too noisy, give them a scream, and that's it. Or Meketi, you can do your own thing.
Wi-Fi imepotea.
Exactly. But now, you should always remember that screen time is not the most productive thing they can do. Always be very careful about limiting that and making sure they're not addicted to it. Have you ever taken a screen away from a child and they act like they want to crack cocaine? Like a real crackhead. That is literally like withdrawal syndrome. So if you see that pattern with your child, maybe start minimizing this thing. So start doing small activity. If you're washing dishes, mwambie kuja pia yeye aoshe, you know, just small things. Have you made your bed today? Have you returned your toys today? Start them young, and then slowly, as they're growing older, they know this is what is expected from me. When I wake up, I should make my bed, put my toys away. When I eat my food, when I'm done, I should take it to the kitchen, you know. Now,
another one which we make fun of, you know, you know, mommy, you know, I wanted, and you really want to listen to this child. You really do. But they are just on your last nerve, but you really want to hear them out. What do? Because honestly, the patience is thin. My niece now is speaking English, but in a musical way. You know, I wanted to tell you. I'm just like, bruh, just speak. What do you want to say? Say it. But you can't now lash out because they're trying to tell you something. You have to listen to them, and you really genuinely are pulling your hair.
You don't know how to hit fast forward.
It's like there's no fast forward on this child. What do? How do you hear them out in a way that is constructive for both you and them? Because if you don't listen the first time, they're going to check out.
Yeah, and they're going to shut down on you.
Yes. So what do?
It's now a you thing. You have to be interested in your child. You have... And anytime I start feeling very tired of all this, I remember the prayers I used to say when I was pregnant, you know, like what you expect from your child. I want a very outgoing, extroverted child who will always speak in the... Those things come back to haunt you.
Oh, yeah.
Because right now my son is obsessed with cars. I know nothing about cars. Ukiniambia hii ni gari gani, nakwambia ni gari ya white. Beyond that, I really do not know anything about cars, brands and everything. But then we'll be watching a movie and then he'll say, that's a Porsche 911. I'm like, what? I thought 911 was the event that happened where buildings were blown. You know, that's a... So he knows everything about cars, and then he asks me questions. So I'm like, ask your father. Ask. But over time, I realized he was now bullying me. He was now being very angry about the fact that I didn't know about cars. So now I have to be interested. If he says, is that at this and this? I'm like, oh, really? I didn't know. Tell me about this and this and this. So even right now, my YouTube is very weird. It's like a 40-year-old man's YouTube. It's just cars and fixing cars and car races and all of that.
So basically, knowing when to respond is also important. Because I feel like children are quick to speak. Sometimes they don't know what to say. And sometimes they're just speaking for the sake of speaking. So knowing when not to respond is a bit tricky.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
Sometimes, you know, you just let them do what they're doing. If they were telling you a story about a rock that later became a sausage and then it became a this and that, and then they're stringing in theories, you just let them be. You just do your thing, boo. I got you. If they say, you're listening to me, mom, I'm like, yes, I am listening. I got you. You said Pikachu had a red balloon. Yes, I understand. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
And this is how you end up being an adult who doesn't know how to deal with other adults, because you've been stuck with your child for, I don't know, many hours. They do have a way of killing your brain cells. Do I have the patience for parenthood? That's a question to be determined on another day. But right about now, I think it's time for us to say goodbye. But I see someone saying, girls, I love this. I like this program. You are amazing, pretty girls.
Thank you
very much. We appreciate you. And until tomorrow, same time, same place. My name is Kathomi.
My name is Turife. Now see you tomorrow.
Bye.